So, we look like we're ready. But this is day one. It's about the work. And I've said that from day one, and it'll always be the same message. It's about work. You got to go earn your right every year. It doesn't matter what the players are, the coaches, expectations, where you were, where you're going. We got to work, man.
Wants to throw it to Stewart. He caught it. Yes. He stole the first down. Oh, yes. The big man dives down to the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful.
Let me tell you something. I love this team now. I got goosebumps, gentlemen. I love this team.
Fields looking pressured, hit from behind, taken down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
What do you think about the secondary?
Just look at the name, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You drafted Branch.
It started off with that huge hit on Beasley.
Be calling things out. There's a big hit right away. And boom!
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Goff dropped it in the bucket that time.
We're in our window now to win.
Aaron Rodgers exits the NFC North as a loser. All right, Lions fans, we're going to talk about something today that's got everybody elevated and everyone talking about it from different perspectives. So the question is, what is Jared Goff really worth? Should the Lions extend him? Should they let him finish out his contract the way that it sits and look for a new quarterback by 2025? Look, man, I've seen it all over the place, all over the internet. So much hate about Jared Goff. So much talk about Jared Goff being the right guy or not the right guy. And I feel like this whole narrative began when Goff was drafted. I wasn't a fan of the Rams, so I didn't watch him, through 2016, 17, 18, 19, and beyond, right? But I feel like he was labeled a bust by the media right away. And I feel like, that team that was led by Jeff Fisher, he ran him into the ground. He ran the team into the ground. And then they threw Goff in as a Hail Mary in his rookie season to go 0-7 the last 7 games when that team was terrible. They had nothing to play for. And, people ask the question, right? Were they doing that by a purpose to kind of tank the rest of the season to have the better draft picks? We'll never know. You'll never know. Whether it was a scheme thing, a play calling thing, or just throwing in a rookie that probably wasn't ready, to help them kind of dive on the season and get better picks the next season. So it's very simple to me. It's a very simple reason why I feel like people don't give Goff enough credit. Under Fisher, they labeled him a bust. And, media, they can't be wrong, right? Once they start with the narrative, they're going to continue to drive it and drive it and drive it and drive it. Even with the Lions, everyone's seen it. The media has tanked on the Lions forever, disrespected the Lions for decades. And now that they're doing good, it's like they want to give them some credit, but yet they'll still slide in with some sort of a snarky remark, or some sort of a slap in the face to discredit the Lions. And that's the same thing that's happening with Goff, right? McVay comes along and he actually puts together a pretty good, NFL caliber coaching staff, really good trainers, starts developing a team. Goff starts to play well immediately in his second season. And they give the credit to who? McVay. Not Goff, not the quarterback. Nope, you're going to give it to McVay. And I'm not saying that Goff is looking for the credit. I don't think he really cares too much. I mean, you guys have seen him speaking this, season, even on Thursday Night Football. He doesn't give two hoots about, what his doubters are saying. He doesn't care. He's just going to go out and play. And he wants to win. And he wants to bring a winner to Detroit, and he's having fun. The biggest knocks on this guy is he's a systems guy. He's a game manager. He's not a dual threat QB, so you're never going to win games with him. He gets no love, none at all. And you know what? I'm perfectly fine with him being a game manager. Perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine with him, not being a dual threat. I'd rather have an offensive line that can keep Goff healthy, right? Keep him on his feet. You don't need a dual threat QB if you've got a good offensive line. You typically need a good dual threat QB when your offensive line is trash. Case in point, Chicago Bears. You got Fields, but you got a trash offensive line. That's why. That's why it works. He's got to run. He's got to evade all the pressure somehow, right? Let's not forget something here. There's a common narrative. Brad Holmes was instrumental in bringing Goff to the Rams. Brad Holmes was instrumental in building that Rams team with all of the work he did is on the scout team and part of the scout team, the scout department. And that team not only went to the Super Bowl twice in 4 years, but they ended up winning it the year that Brad Holmes went to Detroit. That was largely because of the work that he did, from a personnel side of it, right? But there's something else that pops into my head when I think about Jared Goff. And I'm not going to put him into this kind of the same category, but there's something that I think that needs to be said. When you think about a Super Bowl winning quarterback, you think of the elite, you think of a Tom Brady or, Aaron Rodgers. I think he won 1, not 2. I think he won 1. Peyton Manning, I think he won 4. Eli Manning had no business winning a Super Bowl, right? He won 2. Steve Young, Joe Montana. I mean, when you think of Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, you think of the elite and you think of the ones that have been doing it in the NFL a long time and guys that really changed the game. But then there's a few that have hosted the Lombardi Trophy that really didn't have a reason or really weren't somebody in the game that you looked up to a whole lot, or guys that kind of came out of nowhere. Kurt Warner, bagging groceries one day, winning a Super Bowl the next, right? Trent Dilfer, he had a decent career, but he was really a nobody. He couldn't stay on a team. He couldn't win on any of the teams, and he wins a Super Bowl. Nick Foles, drafted to start, ends up coming in off the bench, wins a Super Bowl. Jared Goff has been a winner ever since he's been in the NFL. He's only had 2 seasons that were actually pretty bad. His rookie season and his rookie season in Detroit. Albeit we'll get to that in a minute because that really wasn't his fault. Outside of that, he's got a crazy good record. So when you think of Super Bowl winning teams, Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, people aren't giving credit to the guys that were able to do it as a game manager, as a systems quarterback, as someone that was, coming into a team that was playing well at the right time. But there's one name that I mentioned. And when you talk about dual threat QBs and Goff not being one, he doesn't need to be one because Tom Brady wasn't a dual threat, right? The guy had 1,123 rushing yards over 23 seasons, 48 yards a season on average. I'm not saying Goff is a Tom Brady. I'm not putting him in the same stratosphere as Brady. Not even close. The point that I'm trying to make is you do not have to be a dual threat QB to win in this league. Tom was probably the most successful quarterback in this league ever as a pocket passer, as somebody that had a good offensive line and a few weapons around him and a defense that was able to create opportunities for him to go in and score some points. Tom was a nobody in college, right? Clearly disrespected in the draft. And that's because he didn't have a prototypical body. I mean, he was kind of flimsy, skinny, thin, toothpick. Somehow he still made it to the NFL. And then he decided to, surround himself around the best people, the best trainers, the best chefs, people that understood food, people that understand your physicality and your mentality and how to get the best out of your body. And look what he became. And again, I'm not saying that Goff can do that. I'm not saying that he's going to become a Tom Brady. But what I am saying is he doesn't need to be a dual threat QB to win. And he just needs a good team around him, like any quarterback does, to be able to win. And Goff is finally starting to have those pieces around him in Detroit. Building a franchise, it's not just about one guy, right? Just having a phenomenal quarterback doesn't mean you're going to win. It's about 53 men, that can play when their name is called. It's about, look, let me put it this way. I don't think a Lions fan would care who the quarterback was in week 17, right? Let's say Goff goes down and you take some no-name off the bench, not Hendon Hooker, but let's just say some no-name off the bench, not Teddy Bridgewater, and they go in and win a Super Bowl. Is anybody going to care who the quarterback was? I doubt it. Are they going to say that that's the best quarterback in the league? I highly doubt it. Did they say that about Nick Foles? Did they say that about Trent Dilfer? They didn't. So the point that I'm trying to make here, and I don't want to get too lost because this is really going to be about contracts, is that all we care about is winning. The Lions fans only care about bringing a Lombardi to Detroit at some point, hopefully soon. The difference is the Lions are really building from the inside out. They're building a team of core players and a team that can win together and work cohesively as a unit with a differing, set of qualities and skills that mesh well because they have the same mentality. They have the same goals, and they're driven by a coach that really is pulling the best out of them. That's how teams win. That's how teams are built. And this team is being built around Jared Goff, right? They're finally giving him some weapons on offense. And we're finally getting a defense that's creating opportunities. There's not one Super Bowl winner ever since the Super Bowl era started where the Super Bowl winning team didn't either have a top 10 offense or a defense or both. Most had both. You're not going to win in this league unless you have a top 10 of one or the other or both. The Lions are starting to develop that right now. So why would you want to upset the apple cart? Why would you not want to extend Goff? Goff he arrived in Detroit with Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes in 2021. Prior to the 2021 season, just prior or during, really, right when they came aboard, this team performed basically a castration of the entire team, the franchise, the organization, everything. Complete gut job. Forget the studs. They went to the mud. They went as deep as they could get without building an entire new stadium. Goff had zero weapons on offense, and the ones that he did have all got injured in the first few weeks of the 2021 season. Post the draft, the Lions looked like this. They had Tyrell Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who didn't turn on until later in the end of that season. Khalif Raymond, we know who he's now very valuable. Took a little bit of time to work, didn't it? Quintez Cephas never worked out. Trinity Benson never worked out. Tom Kennedy flashed in the pan. That's who Jared Goff had in 2021. Tyrell Williams got hurt, so he really had nobody. We had Brashard Perriman for a hot second. So how do you expect Goff to succeed when he doesn't have any weapons, right? And I know I'm getting off track a little bit here, but this team was decimated by injuries in 2021. Third largest impact of all teams that season was the Detroit Lions by injuries. It's an actual stat that the NFL tracks. And Goff took his lumps in very large doses that season, man. He absorbed a lot of hits, a lot of sacks, and they went 3-13-1. Albeit he missed 3 games that season, I believe, due to injury. So he had the only 3 wins. He had 10 losses and 1 tie when he was in. But guess what? Goff, he got back up every time for the most part, right? Kept going. He could have given up. He could have called it quits. Could have asked for a trade because he said, man, I got to get the hell out of here. But he didn't. He allowed the team, the coaching staff, and Brad Holmes to start putting the work in. And they did. And now we're starting to see the fruits of all of that labor come to fruition. So, I mean, look where we are now. We're winning games, and we're expecting to win games. All right, so let me dive into Jared Goff. Sorry about my little rant there, but I had to do it. Let's pay this guy. Let's figure out how to pay him. Let's see if it makes sense, right? Jared Goff's stats since 2022 are remarkable. I mean, just absolutely remarkable. He leads the NFL with 124.8 rating on play action passes since week 1 of 2022. He is also the NFL's leader in passer rating at home, 110.8. He's also on a very young Lions team. And this team has totally changed from 2021. They've changed about 88 or 89% of the entire staff, meaning the guys on the field. And I guess some of the staff too, some of the coaching staff. But 89% of the players have been swapped out since 2021. So a very young team. Been the first or the second youngest team the last 3 seasons. But Goff is, among the top-rated quarterbacks in this league, and he's finding ways to win. In the fourth quarter, he's a top-rated quarterback since 2022. His rating is 100.1. The NFL average is 86.4. While Ben Johnson's push to really establish the run game, sometimes it gets bogged down, right? And inside the red zone, they've had a lot of problems. And the field, shrinks, right? You get closer to the 20, the field gets shorter, gets narrower, it seems like. Goff is he has a 24-1 TD to interception ratio inside the red zone since the start of 2022. Now, the stats I'm going to throw at you right now go through the 19th of September. So I don't have the last 3 games. But Goff is ranked first in TD interception ratio, 8th in red zone quarterback rating, 1st in quarterback rating at home, 6th in quarterback rating, 1st in play action QB rating, 4th in passing yards, 5th in passing TDs, 1st in interception rate, and 4th quarter QB rating, he ranks 7th. Now, these numbers have only gotten better in the last 3 weeks. Matter of fact, this last week, he was the number 1 rated quarterback in the entire NFL. First time that's ever happened in Detroit. I don't even think Matthew Stafford pulled that one off. So let's talk money, right? Because that's what rules this world. That's what rules this NFL is money. And I found some things. I read a few things. And there was a GM who was a contract negotiator for another team. And, of course, he's speaking on condition of anonymity because he can't, say who he works for and he can't comment on other players under contract. It's a whole deal. But the question was, how much is he worth? How much is Goff worth? His response was good question. And if the top of the market is now 52 to 55 million per season based on the most recent contracts that were just signed, he'd say the high to mid 40s is what Goff was worth. And this guy doesn't really care for Goff because he says, as much as I wouldn't want to pay him, you would think that Goff's agents got to ask for at least 45 million. 45 million is a bargain, in my opinion, for Goff, for what he's doing in the league. Again, I don't care that he's not a dual threat QB. I don't. Because when you look at his playoff record, his Super Bowl appearance, and his win-loss record, he is a top 3 QB in this league since 2017. There is only 2 quarterbacks in this league, Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow, that have more playoff wins than Jared Goff. That's it. Any rookie quarterback that's been drafted since 2017 doesn't even come close. Matter of fact, they don't even really make the playoffs for at least 2 to 3 seasons after they're drafted. Lamar Jackson was the only one that made it in his first season. As a matter of fact, I don't think he's been back since. I think he had an opportunity last season, but I think he was hurt or decided not to play or something. That speaks volumes about your character, doesn't it? A lot of you wanted Lamar Jackson. So Jared Goff's salary, let's talk money, right? Jared Goff in 2023 is making a $21 million base salary. That's laughable for what he's doing. He's putting up better numbers than guys that are making $50 million a year right now. His cap hit is a total of $31 million. Now, this is where the numbers matter. His percentage of cap this season is 13.63%. Okay? In 2024, his numbers are almost identical. They only go up by about $1 million. And his percentage of cap drops to 12.71. So why do these numbers matter? Because when you look at positional groups, right, you definitely tie a number and a percentage to a positional group for your overall cap. So if you say I'll spend 20% on offensive line, 20% on defensive line, 15% on quarterbacks, 15% on wide receivers, 10% on running backs, you get the idea, right? So they identify this chart of how much they're going to spend. Here's the interesting part. The Lions have $21 million in dead cap money in 2023, one of the lower numbers they've had in a long time. So let's say that dead cap didn't exist. Are you saying that you wouldn't have paid Goff that extra $21 million that you just spent on players that aren't even on your team? And the reason why they're not on this team, the large majority of them, is because there was a ton of bad contracts that the previous regime, Matt Patricia and Quinn, and hell, even Matt Millen, I mean, it dates all the way back to then when this team was never having any money whatsoever because of all the bad contracts. And, the cutting of players too early. So, or all the injuries. In 2024, the Lions literally have less than $200,000 in dead cap. And the salary cap's going to raise to about $250 million from $227. So the cap is supposed to raise about $25 million in 2024. The Lions are going to have zero dead cap money in 2024. The Lions are poised to enter 2024 with draft capital and flush with cash. That's what this means. The cap is expected to be around 250, like I just said. Here's the kicker. The Lions have 40 players under contract in 2024. That's the largest number I've seen in a long time. I want to say this season they entered with, I think, 29 players under contract before the draft. So they only have 11 more contracts to get signed, to fill that top 51 quota. As you may or may not know, it's the top 51 contracts that get counted in the league for your salary cap purposes. The Lions have 7 draft picks, including 2 third-round picks in 2024. And based on the pick value, that means that they're going to spend about $18 million on the rookie draft class, leaving 4 more slots to fill the top 51, assuming that probably the first, second, third, and fourth round guys would be included in the top 51. Some of the free agents that they're going to pick up obviously are going to be a little bit more heavy in way towards the top 51. But my guess is this, though. I mean, the Lions are probably going to have to add, a veteran offensive lineman, a cornerback, safety, a defensive tackle, and an edge rusher via free agency, which would cost them about $37 million per season if they've got a high middle to a top tier guy. You want to cut that number in half based on, bonus money that they're able to sign him to, which puts the Lions right around $225 million spent in 2024 to fill a roster, which leaves them with about 20 to 25 million left over and zero dead cap. Well, 200K, but that's pretty much zero. Here's my opinion. And this is what everyone's waiting for. How much is Goff worth? In my opinion, Goff is worth all of $50 million a year. Just based on his stats, right? His overall records, his performance within the Lions organization. I would like to see the Lions get about a 3-year lease on Goff by extending him 2 more seasons. Now, they're not going to do it this year, right? They're going to do it next year. They're going to do it in the offseason. When you get a shorter contract, it's going to cost you more money. Goff is going to want a 5 or 4-year deal. But given the strategy and if I really understand Brad Holmes and how he operates and has been operating, which is a mystery, guy's hard to figure out, I feel he would want to do the same thing, not hand out a 4 or 5-year deal, right? And get Goff on a 3-year lease, right? Extend him 2 seasons. So you'll have him for 24, 25, and 26. I'm not saying Goff isn't worth it. I'm not saying he's not worth a 4 or 5-year deal. I think he is. But I think that there's too many variables, right? Ben Johnson's probably going to leave after this season. And with that, I mean, you've got quite a few players that are going to have to be re-signed over the next 2 seasons. So you have to really look at the bigger picture. At the end of the day, here's my thoughts. I think that he's worth 3 years, $130 million, $90 million guaranteed. This is combining his 2024 salary, right? Adding 2 more seasons at roughly $49 million per season. Based on the average guaranteed percentage with the most recent contracts, I feel that a 70% guaranteed is a healthy number. I think it's a manageable number. I think it's a fair number. I think it's more than fair. So 130 million, 90 million guaranteed, 3-year deal. We lock him up 24, 25, and 26. That gives the Lions basically 2 more seasons, 24 and 25, to finish building this roster, re-sign the guys that they know that they need to re-sign, and the Lions are going to win a Super Bowl. They could even do it this season, but they're definitely going to win one by 2026 is my goal, is my guess and my goal. It's not easy to find another QB, right? Especially someone to just jump in and pick up where Goff left off. Chemistry is a real issue in the NFL. It's underrated big time. And you see the issues. Look at Jordan Love right now. Look at Bryce Young having tremendous issues in the league. Look, some players in the NFL never find chemistry. So don't be so quick, to throw Goff out the door over money when he's literally been the best quarterback Detroit has had in the last 30 years. And I know that's a huge slight to Matthew Stafford. And don't get me wrong. Matthew Stafford was a phenomenal quarterback. He did a lot of great things. He only had 4 winning seasons out of 12 seasons, right? He was paid $200 million during that, more than $200 million during that time. So if you're going to pay somebody like that kind of money for that length of a time to not win you a Super Bowl, not win you a bunch of playoffs, barely even get to the playoffs, then why is it so difficult to understand that Goff is worth this money and that he's playing well and that he's playing really well within the scheme and for this team right now and how they're building it? So statistically speaking, and no, I don't really care about yards per game. I don't care about the stats that everyone looks at or, how many touchdowns, how many yards. I mean, the touchdowns do matter, right? I don't care about the yards. I care about the intricate details of the stats that nobody's really looking at. The KPIs, right? The performance indicators and how it's meshing with the play on the field. That's what I care about when I study a quarterback stats. I mean, look, the guy threw 383 passes without an interception. It's completely bonkers for him to do that. It's the 3rd best record in the NFL ever. And people want to throw this guy out over money. People don't think that he's worth investing in. Goff is invested in Detroit. He's invested in this team. And you're starting to see the fruits of his labor and the wins on the field. If the Lions continue winning, right, they won't be in a position to take a quarterback in 2024 unless they mortgage the future, which means you're going to give up draft picks in 25 and or 26 to move up to be able to take somebody in the first 3 or 4 picks, preferably the first pick. So if the Lions can win with Goff, right, by surrounding him with a solid O-line, a top 10 defense, some weapons on offense like they've had, then this is what you do. Especially when you have no dead cap. And you've built a solid core of players that you'll have for at least 2 more seasons too. Look, this is what you do. You sign the guy. You extend him for a few seasons. If you have to give him a 4 or 5 year deal, so be it. Hopefully he's playing well in year 3 or 4. Maybe you can offload him for a couple of draft picks. He's only, 29 years old, so he's still young. He still has plenty of gas left in the tank. The bulk of the Lions' big-name players are going to start to expire in 25, and that's why I'm saying that it's a good idea to keep him now and get through the next few seasons with a good quarterback that knows the system, that can teach the system to all the new guys coming in, even when Ben Johnson leaves. The Lions will need to draft a wide receiver, an edge guy, a right guard, a cornerback, and an offensive tackle in 2024. And the reason why is Graham Glasgow, Vaitai, Jonah Jackson, Romeo Okwara, Charles Harris, Khalil Dorsey, Chase Lucas, Jerry Jacobs, Josh Reynolds, all their contracts are going to expire in 2024. This game is about keeping the trenches full and keeping your skilled positions available. Roster roulette is what I call it. It's a term that I coined on how the NFL operates. You're constantly moving players into position to fill in when players are starting to age out, number one, or contract out, number two, to where you can't afford to pay them and keep some of the other players that you know you want to keep. Like, it's doubtful we're going to want to give up Penei Sewell, right? Or Amon Ra or Aiden Hutchinson when he's ready. It's doubtful if Jack Campbell turns into somebody good that we're going to want to let him walk. Brian Branch, you know darn well if he continues playing the way that he's playing, he's going to be one of the best DBs in the game. He's going to command $20 million a year at some point. Those are the guys that you might want to keep, and you've got to be able to manage your roster in a way that allows you to have a great quarterback, right? Keep his number manageable, and keep adding players to the team. In 2025, Amon Ra and Penei Sewell are going to need new deals, hopefully before then. And I would even say that the Lions draft a defensive tackle next year. Kaminsky, McNeil, Onwuzurike, and Buggs, all their contracts expire in 25. So we've got them for this year and next year, and that's it. You don't waste a high pick or multiple packaged picks on a quarterback in 2024. You keep building from the inside out. You keep Goff in place. You keep getting Hooker the experience that he needs in case of an emergency. And you continue to win games. That's what this Detroit Lions team needs to do. That's my hot take for today. You know, if you want to look at some of the quarterbacks in the recent contracts, this is why he's worth what I'm saying he's worth. Number one, Matt Stafford made over $200 million in 12 seasons. Only had 4 winning seasons in Detroit. He just signed a 4-year, $160 million deal. 81% guaranteed. Remember that number I gave you earlier for Goff was, 70% guaranteed? Let me go back and look. Yeah, 70% guaranteed. Matthew Stafford, 81% guaranteed. Daniel Jones, he signed a 4-year, $160 million deal. 51% guaranteed. Derek Carr signed a 4-year, $150 million deal. 67% guaranteed at $100 million. What's the difference between Goff and them? From a winning perspective, well, we know that Matt Stafford went into the Rams and lit it up. He was surrounded by a really good team. Daniel Jones has had 1 winning season. Jared Goff had a winning season his second season in Detroit. But Daniel Jones has been in New York now for 4 seasons, right? He's in his 5th season. He's got 1 winning season, and they're currently a dumpster fire. And he's getting paid $40 million a year. I think Goff's worth more than that. Derek Carr is in his 10th season. Just signed, the 4-year, $150 million deal. So that's $37.5 million a year. He has 2 winning seasons out of 9, and currently 3-2 in 2023. Justin Herbert, he's in his 4th season. He just signed a 5-year, $262.5 million deal. 83% guaranteed. $52.5 million a year. He's had 2 winning seasons in 4 seasons. He's currently 2-2. His overall record, 27-26. Lamar Jackson, he's in his 6th season. He just signed a 5-year, $260 million, $185 million guaranteed, or 71% guaranteed. $52 million per season. He's missed at least 12 games due to injury in the last 3 seasons. His overall record, though, is 48-18. I would assume he'd have a few more losses there if he would have played entire seasons. He's only 1-3 in postseason play. Jared Goff. This is why I'd keep the guy around. He's in his 8th season. Been in Detroit since 21. Right now, his contract is right in the middle. He's 16th among all quarterbacks with an average salary of $33.5 million. And in 2024, it remains the same. He's 3-3 in postseason play with 1 Super Bowl appearance. So out of all the quarterbacks that I just read to you, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Derek Carr, Daniel Jones, and Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff has better records than all of them, other than Stafford has a Super Bowl win. His career record is 58-46-1. And that includes, and I want people to really hear this, that includes the dumpster fire he walked into in 2021. It also includes the dumpster fire he walked into in 2016. This is a unique stat. Doesn't really mean much. It's just my brain working the way that it does. But if you combine his first season in LA and Detroit against all other 5 seasons, plus 2023, he went 3-17-1 in his first season in LA and Detroit combined. And since then, he's gone 55-29-1. That's kind of incredible, isn't it? And currently in Detroit, he's 16-19-1 overall. In LA, he was 47-27-0. What that means is he took over 2 crap franchises in the midst of a rebuild his first season. It's kind of unlucky to start your career off twice that way. And he still has a pretty damn good winning record overall because he knows how to win games and he is an elite quarterback. Look, I could go into a lot more stats and a lot more salaries and everything else, but at the end of the day, it's this simple. Jared Goff knows how to win games. I don't care if he's a game manager. I don't care if he's a systems guy. I don't. I care that he wins games. I care that the Lions surround him with a good team. And you should be able to surround somebody with a good team with $250 million of cap money to spend every season. It's been proven that when Goff has a solid team around him, he plays very well. Any quarterback should. Not all quarterbacks do. There are some quarterbacks in the league right now that have pretty decent teams that are playing completely atrocious. So to end this video, here's the deal. You got to sign the guy to an extension. Lions needed at least a two-year extension, which would equal a 3-year lease on Goff's services. Get us through 24, 25, and 26. And by then, your Detroit Lions will win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, number 16. Pay the man. Give him his bars of gold. Do whatever you got to do. Keep Jared Goff in Detroit. That's all I got for y'all today. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. It's a little longer than I wanted it to be. But anyway, we'll see y'all next time. Go One Pride. Rock down Detroit Lions.
So, we look like we're ready. But this is day one. It's about the work. And I've said that from day one. It'll always be the same message. It's about work. You got to go earn your right every year. Doesn't matter what the players are, the coaches, expectations, where you were, where you're going. We got to work, man.
Wants to throw it to Sewell. He caught it. Billy Sewell with a first down. Oh, yes. The big man. Dives down to the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful.
Let me tell you something. I love this team now. I got goosebumps, gentlemen. I love this team.
Fields looking, pressured, hit from behind, taken down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
What do you think about the secondary?
Just look at the name, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You drafted Branch.
It started off with that huge hit on Beasley.
We call him, things out. There's a big hit right away. And boom!
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Goff dropped it in the bucket that time.
We're in our window now to win.
Aaron Rodgers exits the NFC North as a loser.